And they're off.
And we got a split start here. Bombs in the Sanctuary and the hammer in Link's house. So that's a high ticket, high priority, big ticket item already out of the way. Hammer is quite the useful item in Rando.
Certainly is. And before I get into that, we did see a map check on Ack's side, which revealed a green pendant at the Tower of Hera and crystals at Eastern and Desert. So we've already know what dungeons we're dealing with for where we gotta go now. As for Hammer, Daaanty, if he so chooses, could do the front of Escape right now after these Uncle checks. Well, maybe he won't after seeing that power glove on Uncle.
Are we gonna get Moon Pearl in the Uncle chest?
Oh my goodness, that would have been the complete Dark World Access package right there if that had happened. And it was 2 out of 3. And I call that pretty darn good.
Yeah, we could still have that early Moon Pearl, so you know that early Dark World access could still be a thing. It could be in Kakariko, could be in Escape. We just started, and we're already 2/3 of the way there.
Yep, Axe going right to Kakariko, Daaanty going right for front of Escape. Which, when you have a reusable weapon like the hammer or a sword, not a bad play at all. Because you know you'll be able to get to the end.
Alright, Ack giving us a check in what's in Blind's basement, and so far, not a whole lot. What's this? We got some blue mail.
Blue mail?
Not bad.
Always good to find. Because you never know when that extra defense can make the difference between victory and defeat.
Speaking of blue things, Daaanty finding some blueberries in the boomerang chest there.
We got a dragon down the well! With the magic boomerang. So down the well also had 2 heart containers. And the bow in!
Wow.
The cell! Holy smokes!
This seed giveth.
This seed just give big for Daaanty, for sure. Going to the opening of open mode seeds that goes from seed to seed as to which is the best way. But based off what I've seen from this seed and what we've seen, I dare say Link's house was definitely the better starting point.
Yeah, and that bow will allow Daaanty to get an early crystal until Ack makes his way into Escape. And there's a half magic to boot.
Always a good thing to find. Wow! Ack might be saying, oh great, we got silvers. Paid 100 rupees for him, but here's the bad thing. He doesn't have the bow. Daaanty does. When Daaanty gets that, he's shooting silver arrows right away.
Yeah, and that is definitely gonna be making the Armos Knight fight a little bit faster. And Daaanty headed on over to Lost Woods. We'll be doing Kakariko shortly after. We'll get those silvers, the blue mail, and we'll probably head to Eastern afterwards.
Axe just jumping into the race game blind. I like this play. We'll see how it pans out. Nope, not panning out today with it just being a single rupee. So when he says, nice, you can have this trash, he means it literally, as in it is literal trash.
And Ack picking up that hammer, going to South Shore, not going to Escape quite yet. So we do have one pair of gloves in Escape, so if there is not another on South Shore, I would have to say that Ack will head to Escape sooner than later.
Well, if he doesn't go to Escape sooner rather than later and goes to Eastern first, that play is going to be punishing in the time department this time around.
So Daaanty just following in Ack's footsteps, doing those Kakariko checks, and Ack is going to show us what is submerged underwater here, and it is just $20, so off we go. He's going to grab it, because he's got $3 to his name, so might as well, and now we get Mini Moldorm.
Well, Mini Moldorm's going to be much easier to do, as we see our stun prize is the Vanilla 1 Rupee. Which, the only time that's really useful is situations where you're a few rupees short of, say, King Zora or heading into Pod. Other than that, really not going to see that utilized that often compared to, say, Seeds where it's a 5 or a 20 or Bomb.
Yeah. So Ack clearing out the Moldorms, and let's see what we got.
Sword, an ice rod, art container, flippers, and a fairy in a bottle. We just got Sick Kid access.
Wow. That Mini Moldorm cave is a pretty big one. I mean, not the biggest, but all things considered, you've got some other high-value items early on in the seed, so I can't complain about that.
Yeah, it's like Mini Moldorm Cave's becoming the new hype cave. I just noticed that in chat, and I would have to agree. I mean, the way things are shaking up right now, we could be looking at a Jet Seed. Or is the Seed setting us up to troll us in the Dark World?
Yeah, we're still missing that Moon Pearl. For all we know, it could be on Checkerboard Cave or on the Pyramid, forcing an Aga 1. That's always a nasty troll that the Seed can give you.
Truly is, but there is one worse Aga troll out there that we will not see today, and that is a hammer in the Pyramid, which, even though you might have Dark World access ahead of that, you can do all of Dark World. In those seats, you still have to do Aga 1 to get the big bomb over there. And Axe not going to Ice Rod Cave? That's an interesting decision.
Alright, so Ack gonna find a heart piece and $20 in the Waterfall Cave. So the Waterfall Cave, pretty empty. Let's see what's on Zora's Ledge, because this is a money-poor seed right now, and nobody's even remotely close to Zora money.
Oh, that's the flute. We got Death Mountain access and a different sword behind Sahasrahla. So what that will do is, when Daaanty goes to Mini Moldorm Cave or Act to Sahasrahla, we'll have Master Sword.
Yep, and we are missing that lamp, so until that shows up, we can't be talking about Aga too much just yet, but we are still missing that Moon Pearl as well.
And that is why, early seeds, it's a good idea to check Zora's domain, even if you don't have 500 rupees.
Now, in this situation where all of the money, there's been no 300s, no 100s, no 50s even, wouldn't it be... Oh, there's the Moon Pearl, never mind! I was building up to a King Zora Moon Pearl, but I guess not.
Now, here's what I'm wondering. as good as the flute was for Act to find, that could be leading him farther away from the front of escape, which we already know has not only the glove, but the bow.
Yeah, the one thing is, though, even though the flute will get him Death Mountain access, what it'll do is potentially just be like a 2-minute time sink, and that's about it. Unless, Mirror shows up or Hookshot shows up, then he'll have to potentially invest more. But the more limited he is right now, the better for Ack.
Wait a minute, I see what he's doing. Wait to get the flute to go to Ice Rod Cave. That is not a bad strategy, I will admit. Yeah, we just got a hint that the Ether Medallion requires the boots, so that is a possible box spot.
But the one thing here is Daaanty has Dark World access, so he has a lot of options, and that means he could potentially skip South Shore if that is the way he wants to go, which would mean skipping out on all of those goodies.
Uh-oh. Axe chosen Eastern before front of escape. The play's gonna work in one sense where he's gonna find the Moon Pearl. Unfortunately for him, he's gonna be double dipping Eastern because he did not go to Hyrule Castle, which is where we know the bow is. He doesn't know that, but we do. You see, with these rando seeds, you're playing it blind, so you're trying to route it on the fly. And sometimes when you do that, you make good decisions for a seed, and sometimes you make decisions that might work out in some seeds, but not in others. This is one of them.
This looks like it's just the Saha check, which is fine. And I think here comes the castle play. Yep, and so Ack is gonna get his gloves, and hopefully for Ack, he dives deeper and gets that bow as well. Meanwhile, Daaanty headed to the back of Eastern here to clear out the Armos Knights.
That is a tough dark room to navigate, especially without the fire rod, because the way I set it up myself is that I'm looking for the visual cue. Well, if you have trouble with it, you can always shoot an arrow and look for the Igor visual cue by an arrow sticking to it, and then fire when the arrow moves, because then you know the Igor is coming for you. Meanwhile, Link, we're about to have a quick Armos fight.
Yep, the silver arrows are the best weapon against the Armos Knights, and will kill them all in one hit, so therefore making the fight more trivial than it already was with the bow.
That's a sub-14 first crystal. That's... wow, I'd love to have seeds like that every day.
Alright, so Daaanty has some thoughts to make. He could go to South Shore, or he can just dive right into the Dark World and see what's waiting for him there.
I'm curious to see how he played. What? Well, this is going to be interesting. A hype cave before a mini Moldorm cave. That's a new one, and we see that our pendants are Ice Palace and Mire, 5 to 6 Pod and Skullwoods.
Now with Daanty's luck, who knows? Maybe the mirror will show up in Hype Cave, because he has been choosing all the right paths so far.
It's a gamble. to say for sure. And one that only gave him another heart container because he wound up finding enough pieces of heart to fill it and get his health up. Unfortunately, not enough rupees to even consider the digging game or pods, so I'm wondering how he's going to route this.
Looks like he's going to go to Stumpy and potentially just farm up money on the arrow game.
That is true. Then again, the only reason I called it a gamble is based off of what we knew. And now that's where Danny got his Master Sword. That means when Ack goes there, he's getting tempered.
All right, so, but the one thing that Daaanty is gonna be slowly losing an advantage on is the longer Ack has that flute, the better it will be for, making those marginal speed improvements here and there over the course of the seed.
We're not sure on Boots because we have yet to find him.
And it looks like Daaanty is going to go for Village of Outcasts. The one thing that Daaanty would have an advantage... would give him an advantage is Mirror, and he might be able to route those South Shore checks in... I don't know. I don't know when the best time, now that I think about it, for him to route those South Shore checks in is. I would say potentially when he's starting to run out of checks, or when he gets the flute, maybe.
Or if he's in the area and he happens to be just missing the flippers for Swamp Palace.
Because there's
we can only conjecture.
There's really nothing that's going to drive him to that area. Oh, there's Titan's Mitts.
If he finds the fire rod and he starts thinking about fake flippering to Ice Palace, well, because Pen and Ice Palace could still have something. I've seen it happen plenty of times. That could lead him that way. We shall see.
Yeah, at least for a while, I don't see Daaanty going back to South Shore. So, again, as long as he goes when it's still kind of lucrative to go, none of those items really put him at a disadvantage not to have at this moment. The only thing that does is not having the flute, but that only provides Ack just a little bit of speed advantage over the course of the seed. So Daaanty is going to clear out Thieves Town here, and Ack is going to clear out Eastern now that he has the bow, and I would not be surprised to see Ack then go to the Dark World after this.
Chat brings up a good point. From here, Ack could just head right to the teleporter and jump into Pod. He's got more than the 110 rupees needed to get in. And setting up for the room clear there. Unfortunately, a little too far to the left. So that skeleton did not spawn in the pot, and thus getting despawned as a result.
Alright, so Daaanty done with the front four here. Not finding anything too much of significance. And Ack isn't really going to find anything other than that Moon Pearl here in Eastern. So we're going to wait till Daaanty hits up the attic to see where our next potential item is going to be.
And it's nice to find out when an obscure location like Mimic Cave is not required.
Yep. Those, you love to see two types of hints. Hints that point you where the good items are, and hints that tell you where all the bad locations to visit are trash. So nothing but a compass in the attic. And we do have hammers, so there are no worries about that big chest today if we do get that small key.
Yeah, at this point, if we do get the small key, it's just literally a minor deal. Nothing further.
Alright, so Eck approaching the final area of Eastern. Gonna be taking on those Armos Knights soon. Meanwhile, Daaanty going to be grabbing the quote-unquote maiden and be checking that chest as well.
Although I dare say the maiden is looking a little pale today. Must have been something she was fed from the prison guards.
Yeah, I think, she could do with some sun. I think Daaanty might be able to... Oh, there's the fire rod!
Actually, if you need a tanning source, the fire rod might actually do the trick. Although now I'm wondering, could that fire rod send him after the red pendant in Skull Woods? Sure, it's 2 items, but it is one of the 5-6 crystals for red bomb. Excuse me, I misspoke. And we've seen in seeds before where Skull Woods has had something valuable. Not nearly to the extent of, say, version 25 to 28, but it can be done, possible.
Yeah, I think Skull Woods is a logical play if you're already in this area. That all depends on how you feel about your moth fight. I'm pretty sure none of these runners are worried about their boss fights. Except Daaanty getting a little dangerous on this one, but there's a Quake medallion as well.
So yeah, Thieves Town was definitely a good play, for sure. So far, the front half of the seat has definitely been loaded, and Daaanty hasn't even seen what he missed on the South Shore yet.
And Ack finding out that Hype Cave is a giant disappointment, as it kind of has been in a lot of cases.
Yeah, if anything, the mini Moldorm Cave tends to have more hype than the Hype Cave nowadays. Although that big 20 find does give Daaanty enough rupees to do the digging game, as well as have enough for Palace of Darkness.
So it looks to me like Daaanty is going to skip out on Skull Woods for now. Must either want to route this way first and grab the dig game before he goes up, or has some other plans in mind.
Only thing I can think of is that he might be thinking that he's got to do a mirrorless blacksmith purple chest combination. Something that has been in the randomizer for a while, but can be trolly. And speaking of trolly, the dig game prize being just 5 rupees, being paid 80. Rip off.
And Ack going from Hype Cave, going all the way up to Catfish. So we'll get to see what's on this obscure location. This is a location that you see it's kind of a coin toss as to what runners do here. Usually you'll either see it's a 50-50 whether they want to do Catfish or not.
I know sometimes runners will put off Catfish until they have the mirror so they can get Zora's domain at the same time. That could be what Daaanty's trying to do here.
Oh my god.
You don't want to put off you don't want to put off Catfish today, because that's the Cane of Samaria, and you need that for Turtle Rock.
And Chloe Prower in chat saying Catfish was Samaria earlier, and so we've got a part 2 of Catfish and Samaria. So Daaanty's gonna see what the Smiths are cooking up today. For Daaanty's sake, he better hope something good, because Ack has definitely got some real good advantage finding that Cane of Samaria on the Catfish.
And Chet does bring up a good point. The canes are kind of shaped like a hook, so maybe Catfish was allured by it?
Well, it was good enough bait to get Ack to go up there to check it, so now he won't be fishing around for it.
True, true. Axe first into Pod, Daaanty first into Skullwood.
Interesting that Daaanty is going from the front to the back here. But Ack in Pod here gonna show us what's in on this hint tile, and it is a shield in Ganon's tower. So Pod has a lot of items, and we can full clear it. This is a good play on Ack. Alright, so we know that Pod is bow locked, but not that it matters, so we're expecting a small key here as Ack picks it up on the arena ledge.
And Daaanty is taking the Wallmaster Express to get out of that part of Skullwood.
And off he goes to the back of Skullwoods. What I like to do is, if I have the fire rod and Skullwoods is a crystal, I go back to front. But not Daaanty in this case, he went front to back.
And normally you would see runners go for Mothula, then the item. With Daaanty's health situation, I would think that also looking at the seed situation, he's going to grab the item and take some Gibdo hugs as a death warp.
Alright, so Daaanty taking that hug, and now we'll be moving to the back to take on Mothula at... he'll be able to pick up some hearts. Oh, there's the mirror in Pod! Ack finding the mirror, that is huge!
Yeah, that is massive!
That will give
mirror
Ack...
is also in a dark room.
Yeah, that will give Ack access to Easteth Mountain, as well as Hera.
And as soon as he finds those Titan mitts, he'll have access to all of Death Mountain. Meanwhile, here's Daaanty's Mothula fight as Ack is setting up for Hammer Yump.
Daaanty using the fire rod to swat Mothula back down away from those spikes.
Very quick and efficient Mothula fight. That is not an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination, as Mothula takes no damage whatsoever if hit into the spikes.
And Ack picking up that compass will be able to now mirror out. Very nice time to pick up that mirror too, because navigating that way, your way backwards out of that dark room is not the most fun thing in the world. And Ack knows that due to key logic, the big key chest will only have a small key in it, so goes ahead and skips that. Meanwhile, Daaanty gonna show us what's on the bumper ledge, and today it is a piece of heart, so cape not required. Alright, so Daaanty now gonna go pick up the... do hammer pegs and pick up the purple chest here. But because Daaanty hasn't really found much progression, this is actually good for him. May prompt him to go to South Shore and get those items.
That could also prompt him to go back and check the magic. That is powder.
This is actually a very good time to route in those South Shore checks. Now he's going to drag that purple chest down there, so this may be the time.
Yeah, I dare say the time is now.
So this will get him back in it, but he's still going to have to make his way over to Pod shortly after.
And one silver arrow to the jewel, and Helmasaur King is down.
Yeah, the one thing that Daaanty needs to hope for is something... he's still going to want to need something that Ack doesn't have, although this is the best time for him to do the checks on the South Shore and get some of those items he's been missing out on. And looks like he's gonna go for Agina and check the desert ledge item. We do have access to desert, so the ledge could have something like boots.
And status blueberries.
Yep. And he saves and quits, doesn't do mini Moldorm Cave. That's gonna... Well, he started back at the house. Maybe he's just saving and quitting to help... Yep. Okay, good, good. So Daaanty will be getting the mini Moldorm Cave items and potentially head up to Zora area. So this, again, will get Daaanty back into the race here And meanwhile, Ack gonna clear out what Daaanty already has checked.
And it's a mini Moldorm roasting on an open fire.
Now, I would like to point out that we haven't confirmed that the flute is not required because we still do not have a book. So if that book is in GT, that flute is required.
Daaanty going right for Ice Rod Cave.
So it looks like while Ack is catching up on some of those Dark World checks, Daaanty is catching up on what he missed in the Light World, and so this will be an interesting. It'll be interesting to see where Daaanty goes after he, if he does pick up that flute, because he's still nowhere close to Zora money. So Zora could have boots or something, and we just haven't had the money to get those yet.
Well, here's a thought that I just have. What if King Zora has the lamp?
Let's see.
I only say that because I'm thinking about where we found the mirror and the logic. Daaanty is up to Tempered Sword.
All right.
Another dirty solution is a lamp and ice palace. Ugh, gross.
Yeah, Ice Palace is definitely full clearable at this moment. And Daaanty could go ahead and check the Whirlpool. This could be a lead up into Ice, potentially. Although
Mirror was in the basement of Pod.
I'm not sure if Daaanty would go to Ice. I know lots of runners are not a fan of going to Ice unless they have to. And I don't know if it's the time yet for Ice. I could easily see Daaanty going to Pod before Ice because he can full clear it. Alright, so Daaanty gonna pick up the flute and now has pretty much all of the items except for the mirror that Ack has. And with that flute, it may prompt him to go to Pod at this point.
Either way, he's also going to want to pay a visit to Catfish to get the Cane of Samaria. Because, with the way the seed's set up, there could be something in Turtle Rock.
Alright, and Daaanty activating that flute. So where will he head next? We could see a mire area check. That'd be a quick 1-2 in the mire shed. Won't be able to get checkerboard. And then we could see a flight to Pod, or we could see him go straight to Pod, or maybe even save the old man and Death Mountain just to get that save point activated. We have... Oh yeah, did we see Sick Kid earlier? Did Ack turn that in?
Yeah, it was just blueberries. But at this point, this would also be a good time to check out what Magic Bat has.
And Ack takes down Blind, gets the Quake Medallion, and will have picked up that Fire Rod, so that will be a probably a Skullwoods play soon after. And it's the boots!
Oh my! The speed of this seed has just picked up tremendously.
So the Magic Bat was hiding a pair of designer boots.
And they were behind the Titan's mitts the whole time. I can see why he is heading into the mire area, because if he's able to get in, he can still get in with a bonk. Did not see the medallion.
And it's Ether, which is locked by the boots. So,
That's
if
hilarious.
Mire is required for anything, those boots are going to come in handy.
Well, so is that shovel for burying the seed afterwards.
And Daaanty's going to go ahead and check King's Tomb as well. Oh, and Ack
That's
picking
our
up
first
our...
300.
Yep.
And Ether was in King's Tomb.
But we have not seen our Turtle Rock Medallion, so there is a chance that that still could be the Turtle Rock Medallion.
Ack is now up to Tempered Sword as well. What do the Bonk Rocks have? We shall see. Green Potion. Not bad. Probably not going to need it at half magic, but still can't hurt.
Did Daaanty not check Lumberjack?
Nobody did.
Oh, that's an interesting play. This could be something here if there's something on Lumberjack.
Not just a piece of heart.
And Ack is gonna get the powder and has the mirror, so we'll easily be able to check Magic Bat and get those boots. So the advantage that Daaanty had for a brief moment will probably be soon taken away here.
But on the flip side, Daaanty having the boots will make his pod movement faster. So, kind of balances out in a way.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting seed towards the end, I think. Yeah, the big key factor is... So Daaanty is going to get that mirror, but has already checked the Zora area. So when is the time that Daaanty will choose to go to Catfish?
Well, right now, I'd say the best time would be immediately after doing this dungeon, unless he decides to check the graveyard ledge along the way, which is pretty much the only way to get to those two locations back to back. As the way it stands right now, the way the seed has routed is that both locations are essentially isolated, for lack of a better term.
Alright, so Ack turning in that purple chest, and wouldn't be surprised to see him go to the mire area from here. So, after this, I could see Ack going up to the mountain.
Well, not so fast on that, because it looks like Ack's going to be going into Desert very soon, which is a 2-item check, and hook shots there were basically in a Schrodinger's Go mode, because it all depends on the tab, on what's needed, rather, to enter Turtle Rock.
That is true.
Not yet, so we're speaking in theories and conjecture.
But, Ack has all he needs to, complete Turtle Rock. Except for maybe a pendant, or medallion.
Unique item held by someone friendly. That's starting to make me think that it's either a green pendant by clearing Hera, or we get the old man up the mountain for the hook shot, potentially. It's hard to say because of how vague that hint is.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been Mini Moldorm. Weren't flippers on the NPC in Mini Moldorm?
No, I think that was a sword.
I think you're right now that you say that. So it's not Sick Kid, and it's not the hobo, and it's not the guy, and it's not Hype Cave.
Well, there's a cape, so if anything, that could be needed by logic for Laser Bridge and Turtle Rock. And there's a single rupee.
So I think you may be right that Saha might be the only person left that has a unique item.
Saha, or could be the old man. Either or.
Unless,
I don't think I've seen the old man.
I've been hearing conflicting stories on gloves. I've heard they're treated as a unique item, but they're technically not. I don't know how the hints determine that, but swords are definitely not counted in the unique item pool. To answer chat. But Ack is gonna take on the Landmo here, and with Fire Rod and Half Magic, that makes this pretty darn easy. And if Ack wants to get even spicier, could use the lag arrows.
Looks like a possible checkerboard cave play. Yes, the single arrow is indeed a unique item, so that's another possibility.
Alright. Looks like Ack is gonna go check Agina here, and I think now this might be the time that he might go up the mountain. There's plenty of checks to be had there. And maybe he was holding out for hookshot?
Definitely a possibility.
I know he can hover hookshot cave, so he probably just wanted to, if he was holding out for hookshot, it might have been just for logic purposes.
So the 10 bomb item is something that was added into the randomizer when they introduced standard random weapon last year as a means of making a bomb strat for the Hyrule Castle part possible. Because you can't clear Hyrule Castle with just 3 bombs. It's just not possible.
Well, it looks like Ack is gonna do Skullwoods first here. Not a bad play. It's just something you need to do, and
down goes Homosaur King for Daaanty.
Alright, so Ack will be checking Graveyard Ledge here, something that Daaanty wasn't able to do when he came over here earlier, so if you're rooting for Daaanty, you want to see nothing on Graveyard Ledge, because I have no idea when Daaanty would come back for this one. And we got a big 300, and
Yep.
Let's just note that we still have yet to see what item is on Zora, so that could be something our runners may just forget about for a while too, and Zora might have had the hookshot this whole time.
That would be evil. But we are about to see a big bomb.
Alright, so this could be something juicy here. The requirements for getting this big bomb were pretty early on. You could access it, so there could be something here. But not today, just a bunch of red. We got a heart container and a red rupee. And Daaanty, speaking of red, looks to be headed up to Catfish. This is big.
This is a big play for Daaanty. It made at the time that he needs to make it, because this will get him right to Cane Samaria. And after that, I dare say he goes for Death Mountain and Turtle Rock, as Ack opts to hover the gap instead of the 2-pixel bomb jump that Daaanty did.
If there's a gap, Ack will hover it. Let's just put it out there right now. Hey, you don't learn hovering to not use it.
Yeah, that'd be like not learning. That'd be like refusing to learn the archery game because you intend to put it on arcade pit.
But to be honest, now that I'm thinking back on your lamp suggestion on Zora, I'm really thinking that that's the strongest possibility, because there's been a lot of stuff they've been doing and we still haven't seen that lamp, and I feel like it should have been earlier that we got it, but who knows, the lamp can show up in weird places sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's very true, because Lamp can basically show up anywhere that isn't locked by a dark room.
And we got the flute early without requiring any sort of, dungeons, so it could very well be on Death Mountain as well. And Daaanty just finding a piece of heart here. And what is on this hint tile? Something sharp can be found on a stump. Well, we already found that one.
Yep, that was the third sword that we found in this series.
And Ack pulling out that flute, and it's the mountain play for Ack as well. So both our runners kind of syncing up here a little bit. You're doing a little bit of a high five, and Daaanty is going to go into Hera, check it out, see what's in here, see if we can find some early items. And we got one of two already covered. It's the Bloomerang. So Daaanty finding the basement key, finding out that Hera is locked by the tile room, and is gonna skip on finding that second item for now. Oh, and heck, trying to be fancy, going from the front of Spectacle Rock, trying to hover that gap, and missing it. And we're missing the medallion for Turtle Rock here, so it could be right next door under the map, so to speak, but Bombos will be required for Turtle Rock. Alright, so here goes Daaanty. Daaanty is going to try to hover this gap as well. Looks like he gave it a shot and said, I'm not going to waste any more time right now on it. And nothing in Super Bunny. So Ack is on his way to the east side of Death Mountain, and Daaanty is going to start doing the Light World checks after doing the Dark World checks here. Going to start off with some Spiral Cave action, and Ack looks like he's going to use the same strategy here. Going to go to the Dark World first, and then move to the Light. So nothing in the Spiral Cave, and then now we've got Paradox, so we may see a little bit more out of Hookshot Cave from Ack if he decides to try to hover those gaps there, which I'm assuming that he will at least give one attempt. So it looks like I think Ack is trying to see if Bombos becomes available. Looks like he's saving his portal up on the top so that when he comes back up to do hook shot, and Death Mountain is completely barren unless there's something in Hookshot Cave. So, yeah. So Daaanty looks like he is gonna be headed over to oh no, Cave 45 it looks like. Maybe Swamp? Daaanty looking at his money and says, "Hey, I haven't done Zora yet. Let's get that big 300 and see what we got going on here in case I want to go up to Zora." Alright, he's gonna do the shovel check here. Gonna get another big 300. And Ack is gonna show us what's in the rest of the cave here, and looks like Daaanty maybe doing checkerboard here. If this is a Meyer play, I'd be surprised. Oh, it's a desert play. Yeah, that's correct, because desert crystal. And it looks like Ack is gonna do Spike Cave. Oh, well, before that, gonna check some Hera. He's gonna go for that second item in Hera. Interesting. I think he's gonna go and bank on the green pendant, maybe. This is a gamble by Ack. It could pay off, it could not. We'll see. It'll be exciting to see if there's something on that green pendant. And meanwhile, Daaanty will be able to catch up if there's nothing on that green pendant. He'll be able to catch up as he's clearing out desert now. So, Ack gonna grab this big key here, and we'll get to see what the second item is, as well as, at this point, I would have to say that he's definitely gonna go all the way for the green pendant, because why not if you're gonna invest the time in Tile Room? Alright, Daaanty at the backside of desert, and just gotta light them torches and walk on in to fight the Landmo. Meanwhile, Ack about to give us some more ideas as to what is here in Tower of Hera, and gonna bomb jump across. So it's a big 20, so if there's anything here, it's gonna be on the green pendant, and Ack's gonna cross his fingers and hope there's something of value there. Daaanty making quick work of those Landmo, and Ack trying to get the little bumper bypass here, and doesn't quite get the right pixels. Gets it the second time, and is on his way to fight Moldorm. Meanwhile, Daaanty going back through his portal, Again, this is probably going to be for checkerboard. I would be surprised to see a Meyer play, but it's not out of the cards since you are in the area. Finding those 10 bombs, and let's see where he goes from here. This could be a Meyer play. And it looks like, yeah, he is going to go for that Meyer play. Very bold move here, checking this, and this is another gamble that could pay off big.
It's also a gamble that could be a swing and a miss.
So, Ack will probably turn that green pendant in relatively soon. There's not a whole lot of things to do other than make some choices as to do you do hookless swamp? Do you do an ice? Do you do a mire? You know, there's some options to consider, and he's gonna go check out what's that green pendant first.
Regardless of where the hook shot is, we do need bombos to get into Turtle Rock, so that early Quake, as good as that was to find, turned out to be not required.
And Ack getting the good old bait from Saha, finding only 20 rupees, so that is good news for Daaanty. And there's our lamp!
Wow, that's another nasty place it could have been, but putting it in Pendant Mire, in the words of the character on Family Guy, oh, that's nasty.
You know what really grinds my gears? When Lamp is in Pendant Mire.
Oh yeah. But now, looking at the seed situation, I dare say that Pedestal is very much in play here.
Yeah, it's still in play. I mean, Hook is a candidate. Bombos is a candidate. So, those are definitely some options that Ped could have. However, we still have yet to see what's on Zora. Ooh, this is a big bomb play from Ack. Perhaps might lead this into Zora? Not sure. The good question is when do you, if you want to try to see what's on Zora, when do you make that play? It's something you just gotta... This is probably about as close as he can get to Zora at this point. Unless he finds Mushroom.
And we just got a hint that said a unique item is Firelocked and Misery Mire. It's in this chest. What is it?
Oh, wow! The Mire play paid big. Not only the lamp, but we got the hook shot.
That paid off so big, Daaanty is like, nope! Vitreous, you get to live to die another day. And Dante's beelining it for Swamp.
Oh, wait.
I don't blame him.
Is this the Mire play from Act 2?
Wouldn't that make it Mire Act 2?
I see what you did there. Wow. Ack gonna keep this close because right after Daaanty finds the hook and the lamp in Mire, Ack will be finding both of those items as well. And we get a bird toss.
Or, yeah, a very late bird toss. It's more like he was carrying it into the dungeon. Very good mire, too. What's the hint here? Wow, that is super old news game.
Well, there's a bunch of items in Swamp to be had, so Bombos could be any number of them.
As that gets the lamp, we get our first check for a piece of heart. That fills up Daaanty's health, which is always nice, even though it wasn't really a concern. While enemies in Swamp don't hit as hard in other dungeons, they do tend to be numerous, so they can be taxing and add up.
Yeah. Some of these rude locations for Bombos could be on a tablet, which would require us to find the book first. Could be on Zora. Could be Left Side Swamp. Could be an Ice Palace. There are plenty of places that Bombos Medallion could show up and be just extremely rude.
Chat has a point. Ack could be incentivized to get the pendant out of mire. Is not checking the cutscene chest. Interestingly enough, that's where he needs to go.
This is a common play I see a lot of runners do. In a situation like this, they wait till they are out of checks before checking that cutscene chest if they found the big key and item 1. Sometimes they may even go do Vitreous first. Everybody hates this.
Not sure I'm a fan of doing Vitreous before clearing out, because if I'm going to Vitreous, that means I've checked everything else or I've got both items, because I don't want to have to do Mire 2 a second time.
And Daaanty finding all the cash in Swamp here.
Well, that explains why we were so money-starved earlier. It was all hiding in the dungeons. That map means, well, we got a saying in Rando, it's not Left Side Swamp until you find a map or compass.
Yeah, so until that Bombos Medallion is found, anything can happen between these two runners. So while Daaanty may be in the lead for now, there could be, choices that lead to Daaanty falling behind in that search for Bombos. Because if it's not here, that means you got to make some choices.
And that's a nice one fade.
Oh,
it's
wow!
Argus! We have go mode, folks, at 1:13:47 on Daaanty's side, as you had to go straight to the boss to get the medallion. Holy smokes!
Well, Daaanty is a full Swamp Palace ahead of Ack, and there's not much that Ack can do to save time because Ack will probably make the exact same checks that Daaanty did in search for that Bombo.
The only way Ack saves time is if he does the ultimate gamble and goes straight to the back. And that would be a crazy man's move, I might add.
So now all Daaanty has to do is complete Turtle Rock and head on over to GT. This has been quite the race.
And quite the feat overall.
Yeah, we had Ack as an early favorite to win this because Daaanty was lagging behind on some items, but then Daaanty bringing it back, finding the Cane of Samaria and all those treasures in Mini Moldorm Cave, then taking the lead by first one to do that Meyer gamble.
Now here's the interesting thing, Daaanty was the first one to go into the castle to get the bow, so as well as the glove off Uncle, so if anything, he gave himself a bit of an advantage early. Then Act started to pull ahead a bit, and then Daaanty just made the right play at the end of the day. Now it comes down to execution. The only thing that Act can do that would cost some time is if he goes left side swap, which I nope he's not going to do, thankfully. Because that, well, let's just say that wouldn't have been a good play here. And generally it isn't, except for that occasional trolley seed where there is something over there. And speaking of something, we just found Sankar. And to respond to chat, yes, Logic wanted you to go into Pendant Mire to get the lamp before getting the mirror, and that's just a dirty play to think about.
So Daaanty is gonna hope to find the big key before lava chest so that he can skip that lava chest.
Yep, because otherwise, that is the vanilla big key spot.
So he's gonna want to find it here in Chain Chomp Room. It is possible. We have enough small keys to progress, so big key could possibly show up here.
Nope, we do have to go there. But that'd be a good thing, because then you could just basically have one key to go. And with that, Acktheboker is now in go mode, 117.39.
Yeah, and chat pointing out that Axe play to Hera let Daaanty catch up here. Oh, and Daaanty trying to... does he have the big key?
No, that was Sanctuary Heart in that first chest, so...
Yeah.
There's no way you can have it.
So, yeah, he doesn't realize, he doesn't have it. We just confirmed there. So, trying to skip lava chest and is going to find out that he won't be able to. So that gives Ack just a little bit of extra time to close the gap here. But again, still quite a bit of ways behind. And this is where
now he realizes it.
This is where Daaanty goes, oh my god.
For lack of better terminology. Or one way I would go is it's like, oh, I missed.
So, but yeah, and it is, you know, with the runners, as you know, we're in the division finals here, and with the runners as good as they are, you know, any mistake can cost you know, valuable time that you need to build that distance between your opponent. And chat pointing out also that Daaanty could have mirrored there to save a little bit of time, but I think that at this point, his nerves are probably as high as they can get. Like, you're in the division finals, and you made that mistake of forgetting to get the big key in lava chest. So that's going to throw a lot of people off.
So now whether the laser bridge is required or not comes down to the crystal roller chest.
And laser bridge it is.
Well, that's a case of Turtle Rock being Turtle Rock. Go mode or otherwise, sometimes you just have to clear out all 12 chests.
Meanwhile, Ack, as long as he doesn't make the same mistake that Daaanty did, will have been afforded a little bit of extra time that Daaanty spent grabbing that big key. So, again, this is still pretty close, and it could come down to a left side, right side decision. Because if we have a split left side, right side in GT, that could be a huge difference maker.
You already have the key. Daaanty checked one extra chest, got a heart container, and said that's good enough.
Alright, Daaanty crossing that final little maglev bridge to fight Trinex here. Meanwhile, Ack grabbed that big key on the first try and is headed to the back of Turtle Rock.
Wound up getting a 2 cycle on that fight. Missed on the 0 cycle, but that's okay. Perfect phase 2.
Yep, very nicely done. And
go ahead.
It looks like Fear has started our GT Big Key guessing game, so get those guesses in chat. You need to have donated at least 250 bits to the channel or be a subscriber of the Speed Gaming Network, and you will be eligible to get up on the leaderboard, so get those guesses in chat right now.
Yep, this is going to be quick, folks, so you want to get them in now. And yes, I sort of picked 12 because that sort of got shoehorned when I picked Shade's number.
Alright, so Daaanty about to enter Ganon's tower. Meanwhile, Ack just about to get to that laser bridge key. And doesn't do that extra chest check, so here we go. Daaanty is starting out in Hope Room. And there's Arcane O'Brien, so it looks like he's gonna go full right.
Not necessarily. He could be just going right as far as to check those 4 chests. You shall see.
Alright, so we are coming up on number 3 here. Just 50 bucks. Number 4, the Swagnet. Number 5, 20 rupees. And number 6, a heart container. So Daaanty's gonna grab this key and he will go to left side. So number 7, we got just a map.
So that means Bob lives.
And that also means, with Daaanty clearing that right side out, Ack will want to go left. Number 8, bombs. Number 9, a shield.
Game was right about a shield being up here. There's a small key at 10 and the butter sword at 11.
So Ack's going to start at Hope Room here, but will he go to the left? No, he will be using the same strats that Daaanty did. But we could have a situation, if he goes all the way down full right, maybe, if the key is in behind the ice armos or something like that.
$13, also a small key. ₹300, 20 rupees, blue potion, and a red mail.
So it looks like Ack is going to do the exact same strats as Daaanty, which means will not be afforded any time back. It's all execution from here now.
So now we get the piece of heart. So now 19 through 21, the ice armors is where we're at. There's a mushroom, a blue potion, and it is the tile room!
Number 22, the tile room.
Wow. Game, go fly it. That's just obnoxious.
This is one of those seeds where that tile room gamble really could have paid off.
That's like going for a royal flush in poker, except this time it actually would have been hit.
All
Yeah,
right,
that could have
so
been a big time save for Ack, or it could have put Daaanty ahead for good. Now it just comes down to whether Daaanty can avoid the tiles and the wall master.
if Daaanty wants to maintain that lead, he needs to play as close to perfect as possible. Ack, if he wants to gain any ground, he needs to play as close to perfect as possible. So any mistake is going to either... A mistake on Ack's side is going to deepen that lead that Daaanty has, and any mistake on Daanty's side is going to shorten it.
Now, one thing worth noting is Dante's magic situation. He's gonna need magic on floor 5. There is an alcove he can stop at if he so chooses to get a magic refill.
Well, Daaanty also has a green and blue potion. We got that green goo a long time ago that I don't think anyone ever used.
I seriously doubt it myself. And Daaanty gets bumped off by the cannonball, but that might have been on purpose as Acktheboker gets the bad news.
Alright, Ack entering the tile room. Unfortunately, there is no way to make this any faster. Your execution is null and void here, as long as you don't die. That's pretty much all you need to not do.
Or get grabbed by the Wallmaster, which is basically the equivalent of taking a death in an auto-scroller. Three silvers, Landmo 2, you're out.
Yeah, and we've got gold sword and silvers, so the Ganon fight is going to be very easy for our runners, as easy as it can get. So all you need to do is stay tight on your execution and you will get through it.
Worth noting that Ack used the Cane of Samaria to dispose of the last block before the Wallmaster came down. That allowed the chest to spawn a few seconds sooner than it would have otherwise. So Ack did get a very small time save on Daaanty there, offset, however, by a rough Ice Armos fight.
Alrighty. Now Daaanty is up at the top and just gotta bomb through this wall and get to Moldorm 2. And I doubt we'll see any swag hovers in a race like this.
Yep, no swag hovering this time. This race is too close, and he's gonna leave Moldorm's last possessions behind.
Meanwhile, Ack is on Landmo 2. Wants to get that perfect cycle, gets it. And Daaanty is taking on Aghanim 2.
Now let's see what sort of pattern he gets and how well he... Oh, only got one there because the first shot hit the wall short, and then a blue ball.
So we got a 1-1-1.
Notably because of blue ball RNG, and then he finishes it off with a triple for a nice 4 cycle.
Yeah, Aga not being kind, throwing in those extra blue balls to throw off Daaanty there. We'll see if Ack gets caught by the same tricks. But Daaanty is on his way to the pyramid to fight Ganon. This is all Daaanty needs to complete. No falls, no deaths, and he has got this.
Because here's Ganon! And I would not be surprised if that cheese were produced in Wisconsin. Just saying.
Yeah, and with 2 blue potions, I don't see a death. And so all it takes is Daaanty just to be careful and not get knocked off.
Worth noting that he did use a blue potion in the climb, so it is down to 1 in that regard. Ooh, and speaking of falls, down goes Ack. Was that a hover attempt that failed?
And Ganon asks, did you find the arrows in the light world? Daaanty is about to show Ganon that yes, he did.
Yep, we've had them early and been using them often. And with
there
that
we go.
hit, down goes Ganon. We've got Bacon, get your GG's in chat as Daaanty has taken game 3 for the Titans mitts. Get you that time shortly.
That puts the Titans mitts at 2-1. They are 1 win away from advancing.
Official SRL time for Daaanty with the win, a 135-24. Nice deflection on that last shot from Ack.
And Ack will be taking on Ganon here as well. Daaanty is going to join us for an interview, so we're just waiting on him to get in here. In the meantime, make sure you follow these runners. They put on a great race for us today. This was an exciting one. Always good to see these kinds of races. It was a close one for most of the race. I mean, there was some times where each runner had an advantage, and then it all came down to that final push.
And that final push was the turn to head into Swamp to defeat Argus for the Go Mode Bombos. Yep, Uncle was not skipping leg day today. Oh, it was a shield! That explains why we didn't find any shields. I would not be surprised if that last shield were on the pad, which would be probably the dirtiest mirror shield requirement I've seen in a long time. Meanwhile, Ack is taking down Ganon. We got more bacon! Get your GG's in chat for Acktheboker, and once again for Daaanty, as this was a fantastic race. And Acktheboker's official time was 1 hour, 37 minutes, 47 seconds.
So get those GG's in chat for Ack. Again, great race. It was a heart stopper.
Meanwhile, just looking over the schedule, is that Farame versus Team Awesome will be at 3 o'clock tomorrow on a channel to be determined. It is Kyong92 versus Hitsuyan 1337. And while we got a moment, it is worth me noting what else is going on around the Speed Gaming family of networks, because everything else that's going on started at the top of the hour. So we've got Zelda 1 Multicat on main tonight, with the first race being 100% no up and A, and the second one being swordless at the conclusion of that. Speed Gaming 4 has the Zelda 2 Rando Weekly race. Speed Gaming 3, The Daily Race for a Link to the Past rando, while Speed Gaming 3, let me just double check that. I'll double check that in a minute. So I got my channels mixed up.
And it looks like we are joined by Daaanty here. GG's, congratulations, and how are you feeling about that win?
Yo, thanks. Throughout this league, the playoffs, a tiny backstory. Me and Ack have kind of gone back and forth in Twitch chats with, watching the playoffs, the tiebreaker, or not the tiebreaker, he was in that, but kind of like, making jokes and nervous to play each other. And I know he wasn't nervous really to play me, but I was nervous to play him. I'm not gonna lie. So it feels really, really good to be able to pull another one off to get us up 2-1. When I was waiting for the delay to catch up, I saw SAGTG, one of my two teammates, put the comment in there, the Titans somehow were still in this midst. And I agree with that 100%. This has kind of been, I don't want to call it an improbable run, but the run we're making is really exciting to be a part of. And I just hope we can keep our foot on the gas and, see what we can do in the rest of the playoffs.
Yep. And we are joined by Acktheboker, GG's, and how did you feel about that seed?
GG. I don't know. I actually felt like things went really well, but they they just didn't go well enough, I guess.
Yeah, one of the things, like, because the hunt for the hook shot was was quite the spectacle, because you had dipped into Hera and bet on the green pendant, and Daaanty had dipped into Meyer and bet on Meyer finding the hook shot and the lamp maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes before you did. But yeah, I think that Hera play made the difference, because I can't really think of anything else, like, because you had an early lead because Daaanty didn't get to South Shore for quite some time, but it was a fun one to watch.
I think that actually helped more than it hurt him. If anything, that probably gave him more of a lead. I was doing little snippets of the VOD to see what route he took. I actually think him putting on South Shore and getting to the boots faster worked out really well for him.
That was kind of my concern. And GG, by the way, again, dude.
Yeah, GG, dude. You're unbeatable.
No, I'm not. But
I don't know. I beg to differ.
Yeah, jokes aside, like, I was really worried. I got a hint. I think it was in Eastern. It was either Eastern or Thieves Town. I don't remember which one. It was about Ether is boots locked or whatever. Mm-hmm. So then I got worried that boots were going to be on South Shore. So I was like, I don't want to be last to the boots, but I'm just going to kind of follow this progression and make a really aggressive play to the Dark World ahead of time. And I put off pod a lot longer than I wanted to, because as soon as I got Fire Rod, I really wanted to just go jump in, because at that point I wasn't worried about the Dark Rooms at all. But the there was just other things that, like, when Titan's Mitt showed up, it was like, oh, we're here now. I have to go pick up the heavy rocks and do the other things. And I got a little distracted with that. And then when I got Mira there, I thought, man, I could have had this, so much sooner. I don't know. I went from feeling like really good to kind of okay to really good again. And then when I left the Turtle Rock Big Key on the island, and I was like, oh crap, now I got to go back. There goes, team, or there goes 2 minutes or something.
No.
Yeah,
Oops.
I have to ask, how worried were either of you about Zora, because the seed was so poor starting out that you couldn't get around to Zora at all?
I mean, I was kind of worried coming down the stretch, because at that point I had Mirror, and then I got King of Samaria, and I mirrored to flute away, but I was like, I don't have enough rupees. So then, I checked K45, saw 300 and left, and I'm like, I might need that. Let me grab that. And then did Dig Spot directly after, and like, oh, there's another 300. Well, I'm okay if when I last location Zora at this point. But luckily, I guess we didn't need to do that.
Yeah. I never even went back. I knew how poor the seed was, and I I don't know. It didn't. It never seemed like a good play to make. I think that was something that I would have done after I would have done Ice Palace. Then that would have been my next step. But I went to Meyer before I did Ice.
Yeah, it took you both quite a long time to get to the mountain. What was the signal that you just wanted to go to the mountain? Because there was you had the Titan's mitts, and Ack, you had the mirror for a little bit longer than Daaanty. So were you just more focused on other things, or were you just avoiding the mountain for maybe hookshot or something?
Everywhere you went that like made sense, it gave you another piece to go somewhere else that made sense. And nothing that ever made sense was going up Death Mountain with the loadout that you had. And I mean, in fact, if you just never went up there at all, you would have destroyed I mean, there was just no reason. And I mean, you can lose so much time just going up and down Death Mountain. So yeah, why would you ever go up there?
Yeah, especially
just a silly waste of time pendant. You know, there was nothing good.
Yeah, I was a little worried about green pendant, but when I walked in there and did the first 2 checks and saw it was a key, and I was like, I really don't have time to just sit there for that. And you know, I was banking on if there's something going to be there, hopefully Ack is going to last location at 2. But I was really debating Ice because 3 hints, 3 items versus Meyer with 2. But I'm sitting there thinking, why do I have this Ether medallion? Like, why did it just show up in the progression if, you know, Meyer's Ether and Turtle Rock was not? So I was like, okay, we're going to go in here and cross our fingers. We got Lamp, and I thought, well, that's all I'm going to get, and this stinks. But, you know, go a little further, you get a hook shot, and it was like, oh, okay, well, that's a nice surprise.
Yeah, that's kind of what my thoughts were with Death Mountain when I had climbed up there and got literally nothing. I'm thinking, why does this Death Mountain exist if there's going to be nothing in here? And then I went into Hera.
So did you check all of Hookshot? Because I know you can hover, so I didn't know if you hovered Hookshot to try to check the other 3 chests.
My hover was not working very well today. Then I failed, and then I was like, I don't want to do the rest of this, considering I knew at that point all I needed was Hookshot and Bombos, and I was like, it's not worth my time. And even the fact that I hadn't found the lamp yet made things really interesting too, because I figured the lamp would have been the next thing you found, but it could have easily been, you know, a hook. Like I said, see, the thing is, like, I hadn't found the lamp, so I wanted to do things that were not locked by the lamp. And the mirror was locked by the lamp, so things were very strange. That's why, like, Meyer and Ice didn't really make that much sense to me. Hera made a lot more sense at that point.
Yeah, when you look at what the seed put forth, you know, in retrospect, that lamp was available pretty early on because
you needed quite a bit to get that lamp. Well, there was a lot required.
The gloves, the Titan's mitts, you already had the hammer.
Yes.
The Titan's mitts were in Village of Outcasts on the treasure game. You could have, you know, the flute was on the Zora ledge. So, and the boots were locked behind Magic Bat, which Magic Powder was on the hammer pegs.
There's a lot of items you've listed so far.
I'm just saying, early on, you had access.
Then you had to go get the ether, so yeah, he just needed hammer, ether, flute, powder, mitts, glove, boots.
As far as seed logic.
And then the flippers to go get your flute. It was almost every single item in the game.
Only thing missing out of that sequence was the book and the mushroom, and we never found the book.
Probably
because I mean, the point I make is, like, there were a lot of items just available right in front of you, like you just tripping over them. So, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, is there anything else that you know? Daaanty, I think GTG is going to give you a talking to about Turtle Rock key logic after this one.
I have a bad habit of, like, leaving big keys. I mean, the last race beforehand, the team pep talk was, okay, Daaanty, don't, like, do the hammer yump in pod unless you have the big key. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta quit doing that. Like, why am I doing this? But I did it right the last race last week, but this week, I still still do some dumbs. Just I don't know.
Yeah, those dumbs could happen to anyone, especially as you go farther and farther into a tournament. Or a league, in this case.
Yeah, I mean, you're approaching the end. You know that someone could be putting .done in the SRL at any moment, and that's your last dungeon. So, as you're completing the seed, you could start to get nervous and be like, okay, I need to do this properly and efficiently as much as I can because that .done could come at any time.
Yeah, and I mean, I was telling Ack in like IRC, just man, we were trying to find that big key, and of course it was Towel Room just to make me, sweat even more. But I don't know, man. Like, I was having flashbacks of the tiebreaker race where he kind of galaxy brained GT, and then suddenly he got ahead based off execution. And I'm like, man, if I really lose this on execution, I'm gonna be kicking myself in the butt. But I was expecting the snipe, honestly, right there at the end.
Yeah, interestingly enough, you did both take the same GT layout, so you afforded Ack no time in the search for that GT big key.
Yeah. Only weirdos do Tile Room first. I'm gonna do it.
Gamblers.
Yeah, this isn't a planned error, right?
Yeah, there's definitely GG's some good race to Daaanty. I had felt good with my route. I knew where things were, and there was a lot of mistakes, things that would have just, if he would have made those decisions, I was like, I would have known that I was very much ahead. But if you don't go into Hera, you don't go into Ice in that seed, and you don't orphan your boots or your Samaria, you were going to be in a really good spot. So I did Hera, so that one got me, but it's all right. It was GG.
Yeah, GG to you. I mean, this has been like I don't know. The whole experience has been really exciting with this league and playoffs and all that. So, I mean, 2-1. This is definitely not over. So we've got to keep both teams.
I'm playing Game 5, so please give us Game 5. That's all I ask.
We'll see what we can do. We just kind of had a little team powwow while this interview was going on. I think I'm going to be doing Game 4, so we will see once we hear from Jim on what settings and what day we can do it.
Sounds like
I do not care who wins on our side of the bracket. You guys, dude, you win, you deserve it. We win, great. The only thing I don't want is somebody to deny me my framey. I will have a stern talking to anybody who does that. Outside of that, everything's gravy in this league. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get the interview, but I guess maybe if we can advance, I'm gonna be pulling for whoever comes out of this division. So then,
no, absolutely not.
We got to make it happen. Got to make it happen.
The interview is number one priority.
I feel like the commentators are gonna have to go at it in some brackets to decide who gets to do that for IMA interview.
It's gonna be me.
That'd be interesting, and let's just say we'll see what happens.
But looks like they're setting up for the next one. GG, guys. Thanks for the tracking, commentary, stream, all the good stuff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, same thing here, guys. Appreciate everything. GG's again to Ack, and we'll see when we can get Game 4 scheduled.